Happy day to you if that's where you're feeling in your way. But know in each brand new breath, you can breathe deeply and begin your brand new start again. I'm Tracy A. Martin, hypnotherapist practitioner, life guide intuitive here at Opening Doors Productions. And I would like to also introduce my counterpart here, Dreamer Divine. Would you like to say some words to everyone out there?
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I can't wait to sit in it in this episode today.
Thanks, Dreamer Divine. So, I know we have a hot roster today. Where would you like to go first?
So, the first question and inquiry is from Sarah. And Sarah says, Tracy, I have recently lost my baby girl of 2 months. I am broken and I do not know where to begin again. I have come very close to taking my life so that I can be home with her. Oh, that's heavy. Do you have any guidance to help me right now? I am hoping I am not alone with so many leaving this plane right now, no matter how old or how young, whatever the reason.
Thank you, Sarah, so much for bringing this question in. I think you're going to touch a lot of people here. Not necessarily that someone has lost their own child of whatever age stage it is, but that many. Grief is such a very in-depth space, and we go through absolutely every emotion in it. And Sarah, I'm so glad that you're reaching out because you're here on purpose. That's the one thing I want you to know first, and that every person has their own divine contract. That being said, some of us we get for a minute, a moment, some of us a lifetime, and you can destroy yourself trying to figure out why. We know that absolutely every relationship we have, especially those that we consider a tight bond, whether we call it friend, family, whatever we have given that attachment to, I want you to know no matter what, no matter who's listening to this, along with Sarah, that there's no book that you can read that is going to help you work through a process of grieving, because there's no such thing. Those are broken mind traps. You're allowed to be here in it right now, sitting in what is it that you're feeling. You're angry, you're upset, you're sad, you feel lost, you feel the abandon and the guilt. And most people, that's where we go. Especially you, Sarah, in your energy, I'm seeing that you're feeling guilty, like you did something or didn't do something enough for your beautiful little baby to leave this plane. And, definitely if there was negligence, then that is something to sit in and learn from. You can't change anything. And we know that everything is teach, learn, learn, teach. If you want, Sarah, if you want to go even deeper than that, than this, I would suggest you give me a call and let's set up an intuitive guide, because there are some things that little one wants to bring through for you, but I do not believe that's the place here. But what I want you to know is all is well. There is no harm. Baby felt no pain. It was just time. In our grief or loss process, when you understand that we have 5 exit points designed in our contract at birth, and unfortunately lots of people try to say SIDS and they don't know why. And many of you that have woken up and are quite aware with vaccine damage, you understand that a lot of that had to do with that, and it has nothing to do with SIDS. That's just them trying to hide it. But it doesn't matter who you are. If you are supposed to be here, you will be here. Divinely, you are here on purpose, as is that little baby. And in the 5 exit points that we have, if we know that we will not be able to fulfill our contract, if it is not the right time, some beautiful little souls leave and they come back again. And I want many of you to understand that, because many of you who've gone through what are termed miscarriages as well, this really holds true to many people as well, and you feel that loss. But many of those beautiful miscarriages is understanding it's wrong timing, or they've decided it's better that they come as a female instead of a male. And so I hope that these words help you to open your mind more, to let go of the selfish part of grief. And that's the biggest part there where I want to take you to, Sarah, is we believe we have an ownership on someone, and we have some form of expectation of who they need to be for us. And that beautiful little baby boy that you had, Sarah, it was his divine contract. There's nothing you did that could have kept this little guy here. This is just part of this whole process. Does it make any sense? It doesn't. Does it make it easier? Not at all. But I want you to know that each and every one of you are going to go through a grieving process, or lack of one, therefore, because some of you have been taught not to cry, not to grieve, that it's not strong. And every emotion that you sit in, that you are honest with, is so powerful, because you're not lying anymore. You're going to have waves no different than when you watch an ocean, and you watch some that are plunging and deep and some that are just ebbing and flowing. Some days are going to be awesome, and the next you're not going to want to get out of bed, and you're allowed. If I need to give you permission for you to feel that you can have permission to just sit in those feelings, I want you to. But what I want you to actually feel, what is it that you're actually feeling? Because Sarah, you are really feeling a lot of guilt, and there's no reason to feel that guilt. You did nothing wrong. You loved your little boy. He knows it. He's not taking anything by offense, anything. But I assure you, he is coming back. That is one thing he wants you to know. Other than that, let's move into this grieving. There's many people around you that think you need to just move forward and stay busy. That is a broken mind trap. The busier you are, the busier you are, the further away from actually really sitting in what it is that you need to feel you're going through. Sit in the guilt. Sit in why would you feel guilty. Write it down if you need to. What you believe you didn't do, so that you can break through it. It'll help you release those silly ideas, those thoughts that keep going on in your head that make you believe that you are some kind of superhero, God, that you can control who lives and who dies. You can't. If it's time for them to go, it's time for them to go. It doesn't matter who, what age, who that you've just lost, and how it hits you. Each one of you are going to go through a grieving process different for absolutely each person that are no longer in this life story for you. That question that you asked was, how do you begin again? You've been doing it your whole life. With every brand new breath is a brand new way of looking at life. When you felt that loss of your broken heart, whether it was a boyfriend dumping you or you dumping them, or losing anyone in your life at a young age to begin with. And some of you have had such an amazing life where you haven't had anyone close to you pass yet. And so it's a brand new process. Children that are young, when they lose someone, they absolutely learn coping, for the most part, a lot easier, because they see that it's a part of life. It's a story of life, that some come, some go. Depending on your level of awareness, on your spirituality, of what you believe will either hinder or help as well. When we understand that there is no death of the spirit, just the physical body, it doesn't make it any different. We know that we lose that physical presence of that person, and that is real in this lifetime. Knowing that they are whole within themselves, of the whole of all they are, is a comfort for many of us. I'll share with you how when I've learned through and broken through and learned so much of and had experiences on the other side, you're so happy for them. And when I watch people who have passed, I used to get very jealous actually. It's like, oh, those assholes, they got to go home before me and I'm stuck here on this plane, because we know it's such a low, dense plane, and the highest part of all that you are knows the freedom and wholeness you truly are when you are beyond the 3D place of where you are. You wanting to go home to your baby is something absolutely many people have gone through. And so, what I would like to do, Sarah, is I would love for Dreamer Divine to weigh in on this, because Dreamer Divine hasn't lost a child, but she lost someone very, very close to her. And it doesn't feel any different than anyone's else, and yet it feels different from everyone else, if that's the paradox you can understand, because everyone goes through death differently. But I assure you, many people have felt the same way, that they just wanted to go home to them as well. And there's many people going through this right now. So Dreamer Divine, do you feel comfortable sitting in what you went through in your story with two little ones when you lost one of the biggest loves of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sarah, I just like to say that my heart goes out to you, and I absolutely feel that you need to give yourself lots and lots of time, because healing takes time in any way, shape, or form that it looks like to you. Nobody can ever tell you how long you have to grieve. It can take years and years and years to heal from that. Um, I had some hard lessons to learn in my situation. And I did have two very small young boys. My oldest was 2, and my youngest was 4 months old. And it took a while. And honestly, one of the biggest things that I learned was that in my contract and in my journey, that I had to learn a very tough lesson, that in my contract, it was me losing my mother, that it had to happen in order to find myself. And when you have to lose someone so close to you who you absolutely love and are so close to, it is a tough lesson to learn for sure. And it takes a lot of time to heal from that and move forward and kind of feel out what it's going to be like going forward without them in your life. But knowing that they're always there, no matter what, and they're watching over you, and is a very comforting thing. I learned that it was part of her contract that she had to leave, and that it had nothing to do with me. But I was selfish, and I ended up losing another person 2 years later that was extremely close to me as well. And I kept getting angry and saying, why would you leave me? Why would you leave me? And that was the selfish part of me, having to let go of that fact that they didn't leave me. It was part of their journey and part of their contract. And it was selfish of me to think that they were only living here to be a part of my life, which was absolutely not right. So I feel so much love from you, Sarah. I feel that you have so much love in your heart to give to yourself and to the baby that you have lost. And I believe that that baby felt that love no matter what, and still does feel that love from you. Absolutely. And that absolutely to give yourself time, and time is the biggest key. And take your time, be compassionate to yourself, and take as much time as you need, because there's no, like Tracy said, there's no right or wrong. There's no book. Everybody goes through it differently. And absolutely, I have people as well in my family who have not gone through the grieving process at all to do with the same situation. And it's all in how you feel through it and how you feel you need to deal with it. And so, yes, I absolutely understand, not in the same context of a person that I lost, but I do understand that you are going through a very rough time and that you do need to be gentle with yourself.
Thank you, Dreamer Divine. I know um, it takes courage to be able to be vulnerable. And that's what we're here for. The real, authentic you has nothing to hide because everyone is learning from you when you are authentic. Sarah, I know that you've gone to walk into a shopping center and you've had to turn around because you're ready to cry. And that's old, broken mind traps that have you believing that you need to hide your emotion. And this too is the support system that's around you. You'll find people that cannot handle being there to support you when they think it's an uncomfortable place to be. I'm not just reaching out to all of you that are dealing with grief on many levels, because there's so many of you losing loved ones right now, whether it is a person, place, or thing, or beautiful animal. It doesn't matter. There's big loss happening on this plane, and people very easily go into this place of numbness. And many of you can understand that feeling of just feeling so numb because you've processed so many emotions, and some of them you're feeling all at the same time and you don't know which one you're really feeling because you're feeling all of them. And again, like Dreamer Divine said, being gentle and calm with yourself, allowing yourself to feel everything you're feeling because you are allowed. That is stuff coming up, allowing to sit in it, and then it leaves in the next breath as well. It may be more breaths, but at some point, as long as you are allowing it and just sitting in it, I hope that this brings you a great place of peace, knowing that you have to stop deciphering, is this right, is this wrong, am I grieving wrong? So many people love to have all these answers to tell you what you need to be doing. But I really, really suggest for you to sit in breathing, allowing it to come and go. And guess what? They aren't coming back. That is the truth. So the more truths that we can sit in, we can then create solutions of how are we moving forward. And you already are, no matter what, whether you like it or not. It happened, it's happening, so you already are moving forward. And I'm very proud of you, Sarah, because this is a massive question to ask, to have on the air for many people. And I hope that you have a support system who can help in some fashion or form, because not everyone will be able to be there for you, because it's really, really inside of you where it all happens from. Some of us go inside very much so the moment that we have something that we process. And it's easier to process when you have less outside influence. No different than how many people decided their opinion on how long you should be grieving for. Like there's such a time spot put on absolutely anything. When you love someone, it's not the hurt that happens from the love, it's the lack they feel they don't have anymore. And that's what you're feeling, is that lack of presence there. So definitely when you are feeling that, I want you to talk to your little one, because he's listening. He's all around you all the time. And he has been dropping little hints at you that you're feeling. And every time you're having waves of feeling them, it's because they literally are hugging you. He's super happy where he is. He does not want you to be sad. I know there are certain things, like I said, that I would like to speak further with you, but I would really like for you to know it doesn't matter who you're grieving. Many people believe that losing a child is the worst type of grief. It's not. Every loss is a loss. Every loss. Anyone who is going through some form of loss, I want you to know that there is no scale of who has the right to grieve more or longer, or because it was this or because it was that. There are people who have committed suicide because of losing their jobs, because their job was their life. Your child was your life. Someone's wife or husband was their life. Their dog or cat was their life. There is no scale of who has the right to feel it more or whatever. I want you to all know you're allowed to grieve on whatever level you need to, because a loss is a loss and it's real. Because you have a brand new creation of what world reality is to you when there's something missing from it. So hold yourself gently, love yourself gently, and if you are feeling suicidal, please do reach out. Some of you believe in the medical system, some of you do not. There are many beautiful souls out there, and each and every one of you know someone, and they may know someone. If you don't, but you know someone that you can reach out to. Sarah, you did, and I'm very proud of you. I know that we do have an appointment booked, and yes, feel everything in the meantime. The more support system you have will help you. There are some of you that believe that you need to go into some form of support groups for people who have lost their children or this and that. You don't have to do anything. Some people feel the need to be in that kind of support. I will tell you that what happens every time in those support group meetings is you reliving the loss every time. And everyone is given grounds to relive that loss every time. And it's called trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is when you feel bonded to someone who is going through a similar process, but you're both living and maintaining in the trauma instead of the solution of moving forward. So again, it's all inside of you. Whatever you feel is going to be the road that you walk on, but no one is going to help you through this other than you, beautiful. Right? This is a part of your destiny. This is a part of what was written into your story as well. Whenever we have gone through some of the hardest times in our life, when we have broken through all of it and we look back, we always see how far we came, and we understand what obstacles were in our way in that moment. Some of it's karmic, and some of it is to take us deeper. Did you know that some people have such severe trauma and they become the most beautiful speakers that help people to actually break through instead of wallow? And that is part of your energy, Sarah, because you have such a magnetism to you that eventually you will, on purpose, be magnetically drawn to the right people, that you'll be able to say exactly who you are in that moment, and it brings comfort because it's real. And that's where we feel comfort in other people's words, is because there's true emotion in them, not false statements. And I know many of you will see people, they'll see a loss has happened, and you see so many people that say sorry for your loss because they don't know what to say. And there's nothing we can say to anyone. I will always, always hold space, because there's not one thing I can say to you to help you, other than that I am here if you ever need me. But there's not one thing I can say that is going to help you other than I love you. And that helps, that love that everybody gives you when they say sending loves and hugs, there is an intent in it that they are reaching out. It may not feel anything because you're feeling a nothing at that moment. Just know some of us go through fight, flight, or freeze when we are presented with something that feels like a trauma or a danger or a shock. Death can happen, and some people realize that it was easier when someone has gone through such a long-term illness. Some people believe that it was easier that they were just taken so quickly. It doesn't matter. I'm here to tell you it doesn't matter. I've watched people who are by a person's side for years, and they do feel happy that they're no longer in pain, but it doesn't mean they get to have them back still. So Sarah, I hope that you know you are creating your new world right now, one step at a time, and you're allowed to feel what you're feeling. And I hope that you can see that little beautiful boy's eyes as he stared at you, because you know that he looked at you with such reverence, because he still feels that way. No one's here to hurt you, to take from you. That's just that unfortunate, selfish part of us, like Dreamer Divine said, is we have an expectation of who they needed to be for us when we needed to be it the whole time. If you could have the Project Looking Glass to look in to see how many children you're going to have in your life, even though you're going to have more children, that's not going to bring back your little baby boy in the physical of who he was now. You're not taking on and having more children to get over something. People aren't moving on and finding a new relationship after they've lost their husband or wife. It's just a brand new life, a brand new story. You are allowed to create whatever you want in your storybook. I hope this really helps Sarah and everyone out there that are experiencing or trying not to experience grief because it hurts so much. But I assure you, when you finally sit in it, it may get ugly, but then it's in it. You're in it. It becomes tangible and it releases and you feel better, emotion by releasing it instead of trying to hold on to it. Grief sits in your lungs. That's why it feels like you can't breathe. So get it out. I love you very much. I love all of you very much. This is a very deep subject today. So Dreamer Divine, what would you like to bring up for our next part of the show today?
So the next inquiry that was sent in is from Lucille. There's a few questions that are asked to do with this topic that she brings up. And so we are going to ask them one question at a time, and then Tracy will give you the explanation and the answer and things to sit in. So I have recently set boundaries with a narcissist that didn't go well at all. I have a few questions in trying to understand this narcissist for my healing. I have come to understand this person has a lot of hurt and is very insecure, hence hurt people, hurt other people. I see the pattern has been passed on from their parents and most likely further down the line. Here are my questions. Is a narcissist capable of love, or was it all a lie?
So the first question, Lucille, thank you so much for submitting your question as well. It takes a courageous person to ask, and it takes an even more courageous person to know that they're wanting to sit in what the solutions are. They take what they need and leave the rest behind. Again, it's going to be different for each and every person. And I'm very grateful that you are learning enough to understand that everyone has bits and moments depending on what day, what's happening in their day, of how they react or respond. The narcissistic mental plane that was embedded here on purpose by the sociopaths, psychopaths, the tyrants, the rulers, the leaders that absolutely love control is one of the biggest things that every one of you are seeing. Every one of you is realizing, oh my God, we never ever heard of the word narcissist, and now we're seeing it right in front of us. And the greatest thing is, with all of the amount of light that is finally shining itself on all the dark aspects, all the distorted aspects of what love is what is coming up. And the only way for us to move higher, deeper in it is to work through it or break through it. So, Lucille, narcissists absolutely are capable of love. So, I want to break that down even more. Everyone is capable of their idea of love. So, when we know that this has been generational, this is ancestral, this has been stored, this distorted genetic DNA that is held onto these memories that have been a program that has been repetitive and embedded for so long, is yes, if you have, most of you do, because that was what the attraction was on some form of what someone was. We realize that many males were created to become narcissistic because they were taught that it was all about them. Oppression of women was a huge thing. This has part to do with what was in the mental planes. But did we learn it off our father and become that as you search for who your mother was in someone else? And that's how we see the play out happen. So some of the males end up having narcissistic females in their life, as do females having narcissistic males in their life. There are more than other. Your idea of what love was to you, what your idea of love was not to you, is exactly what you've been playing out. That is why, Lucille, in your whole family, they learnt it honestly, repetitively, and that was their coping mechanism. You cannot tell a narcissist they're a narcissist. Someone who is severely insecure, who needs control, who uses bullying, belittling in order to keep their other in a lower place because of their fear of losing them, are usually those tactics. They have such nervous and fear. The amount of fear in them is why they want to control the other. And it's like I've said again, Lucille, some people have the most beautiful hearts to others, but the moment they have someone within their family that they feel triggered by or feel like is going to take ownership of another, whether it's a brother or sister, whether it's a father-in-law, mother-in-law, and a family member becomes jealous of the other because of fear of losing them, that is where they'll bring out narcissistic traits at that time, who they might not have been. And let's let go of the label and just see it for what it is. There's jealousy, there's expectation, there's judgment, and there's taking things personal, period. That happens. So the moment we let go of the narcissist, throw it out of the way, and we know that when we love ourselves, period, we do not allow anything that is lack. That is where healthy boundaries come in. So, Lucille, they are capable of love. Everyone is capable of love. But is their idea of love an understanding or understanding of yours? If you know what they are playing out is a lack or distorted love, do you need them in your life? Can you change them? You cannot fix anyone. You cannot change anyone. You can just love them. And if you need to let them go or have that healthy boundary instilled, of course they're not going to like it. They love control. So you know that the moment you tried to put in a healthy boundary, you bet anyone. So let go of narcissist, period. Let's get into just the guts of it and see if someone has an issue because they were used to manipulating you or owning you or controlling you and your life. They will be the ones that react. Of course, they're going to be triggered because they feel like suddenly they're out of control when they've never ever had it. So that's the paradox. So let's bring on the next question from Lucille.
So the next question, I believe, which you answered, was, can a narcissist change? And then I'll ask the next following question with that of how often does a narcissist realize they are one, and is it wrong to tell them or to tell them they are one, or is it healthier for them to realize it on their own?
So again, a victim, someone who loves having control. It's a very 3D mindset for anyone to throw onto them who they are. That is too definitive because it is just happening in that moment, Lucille. So like I've said, some people are the most loving people and would give you the shirt off their back. But the moment they aren't getting in return what they expected from it so that they could have control, they have an issue with it. Telling anyone what you think they are becomes a trigger. You call anyone an asshole, they're going to be triggered. You call anyone unloving, they're going to be triggered. The greatest is to actually have it from the place of feeling, because it's what you are feeling that is what you are sitting in that moment. So when you can say to someone who is sitting in a place of lack, the easiest thing that I say to anyone who is trying to create victimhood, poor me, trying to control something or manipulate you or belittle you, bully you, or try to shame you in any way, if you were to shame them back, then you are playing in that same playfield. So the greatest thing to say is either nothing at all, and you do not need to give them any cause of action of why you don't have them in your life anymore. The greatest thing you can say to them is, this is not what love is. Or when you have something loving that you are willing to be with me, only then will I allow this in this conversation. Or this is being very disrespectful, so I'm choosing to hang up or walk away before this escalates any further. You can walk away all you want. You will know that people who love having control have to have the last word, period. They are always, always so in their own heads because it's always, always about them. And this is the highest part of insecurity. And this is why they love judging everyone else. This is why they love having an expectation on you. And this is why they're taking it personally. Is there anything you can do to change their minds? Never. If something doesn't feel good and you know that you are here on purpose, willing to create solutions, and the other is not, there's not one thing you can do to create the solution. You can't speak to deaf ears. When people are so heavy in reaction mode, you cannot tell them to stop reacting. It's like telling the 2-year-old to quit having the temper tantrum. No, you create whatever healthy boundary you need to, no different than many people have done. When you've allowed a 2-year-old to have negative attention in any way, and this is repetitive, it becomes the story of their life. And this is where many, many people take on those narcissistic traits, that the moment they are given into by any type of negative behavior, then it will keep continuing. That is why you're having a very hard time right now and you feel like you've been hit sideways. And all it is someone who was trying to have control. You allowed them to have some form of power. Does this help, Lucille? Are we ready for the next question?
So the next question is, how do they not realize the path of destruction around them that they caused by not healing themselves?
So again, it doesn't matter if we have someone's labeled an alcoholic, but that person does not believe they're an alcoholic because they don't want to believe it. All they're doing continually so that they do not have to do anything to change is they are continually lying to themselves. One of the biggest traits I will talk about with narcissists is they lie continually. They will change always a situation to always look like it is always something happening to them because they love being a victim. Poor me all the time. They will not ever admit they have done anything wrong because they can only see from their point of view, and it is always right because they have to have control. They are severely insecure. So when you understand that, we'll use you for an example, Lucille. You're having a perspective. I'm having a perspective. We're having a conversation about tea. And you like blackcurrant tea. I like mint tea. When you have an open mind and you want to have a relationship and build and know that that person's, it's awesome, it's colorful, that's who they are, and you believe in them being allowed to be them, and you believe in you allowing to be you, that is where light relationships come from for those who aren't trying to control them. There's no competition. There is no comparing. When you are outside of an insecurity, when you are secure in who you are, you become secure in who they get to be as well. And so you will always see, like you've said, hurt people wanting to hurt people because they are always wanting to have control or needing to know more than, because they need to be needed. So when you understand that they will never believe they're harming another person, it's because it's embedded, indoctrinated into them of who they believe they are. They will continually make everyone look bad because, as you have seen, you'll see people needing to belittle other people because it makes them feel bigger. When anyone who is real, whole, and authentic, all you see is that person so severely insecure, and you're put off by people trying to put other people down. You can't compare or compete with anyone, so to try to put them down is not going to ever help anything. But we know that many people feel that they need to warn others of people's behavior. And most of us can tell anyone till you're blue in the face of who you believe someone is. And the other person will never see it because that person probably doesn't have to play that to you. So again, if we take narcissist out of the picture and just really get to the guts of what's going on, this is where you're able to help yourself more and know that you have every right to keep yourself in a space of peace, of freedom, of knowingness, of allowingness, because the moment people start to try to plant seeds in you, that's where the head games become. So I know another one of your questions is wanting to know how you deal with someone in your life that is portraying this to you, and you have the both of them in your life, and how do you help them see it? You don't help them do anything. If that person is in your life and you know that you have healthy boundaries of what you will allow and you will not, because disrespect on any level is lack, it is not loving, and does nothing to serve any of humanity. So the biggest thing I would love, Lucille, for you to sit in as well, is to realize that the moment the lashing out happens or has happened, or the need for belittling, bullying, disrespect, lack on any level happens, do you react back in the same way? Or do you sit to observe the situation to better know how to respond? Because if not, you're being the narcissist as well, if that's the hatch you want to have for a word. So if you are going to fight fire with fire, disrespect with disrespect, it doesn't cancel it out. It doesn't elevate it to any other than a lower, awful level, and that's why it won't feel good. The more that your partner understands what love is to you and what is love is not, and the more you openly communicate what it is and what it is not, and you catch people the moment other people are trying to bring that in because it's been normal for you, the moment you can help that other person saying that is not love, or that is lack, I'm not interested in that. So then they will also learn from you by you being the leader in creating whatever boundary you need. And if they never get it, they never get it. But then that will absolutely become part of what you're going to be in the process of learning, teaching, learning within that relationship. And yes, do we see many relationships ending right now? You bet. Because those of you who are having more levels of awareness, who realize their worth, to understand what love is, we don't have time for lack. Those aren't even players in your game. And because like attracts more like, the higher you are living and centered in what love is, everything else will just move. Source does that on purpose. It is only the vibration where you're playing in where you will feel the greatest and have those brand new interactions and stuff in. And so communication is key. You cannot force anyone to do anything, or that is lack and control. I know many of you feel that you want to save everyone as you are awakening, and you're seeing things, and you're feeling that strength and that courage of sitting in your power of what you allow and what you don't allow. Know that that is where you are on your journey. It is nowhere ever where they are, ever. And even if it is your best friend or your lover or your spouse or your wife or your husband or whoever it is, they will never be vibing where you are vibing, because you are unique on your own. But what are you leaving for a footprint everywhere you go is where you're going. So what is the next question within that with Lucille, dream or divine?
The last question, which you kind of already touched on, is how do you support people around them that are being hurt by them, that aren't ready to realize they are dealing with a narcissist? And what if some of these people are children?
So yeah, again, Lucille, there's a difference between a psychopath who is dangerous. There is a difference between a sociopath that is dangerous, and there is a difference between a full-on narcissist who is dangerous and people who have narcissistic tendencies. When you observe how those people are with someone else other than you, you need to realize that this is mirroring that's happening. Part of the healing process you're going through, because you've just really realized what it is that's happened and what love was in your life and what love is not in your life, is why now those runners are still coming to see how you're going to deal with someone who has tendencies of lack. And how do you support if you see someone being manipulated or bullied, belittled, whatever? How do you support someone who is been used to this being their idea of love? If you can communicate with them, other than with your children first, we'll get onto that, but you can let them know, is bullying love? Is manipulation love? You ask them the question so that you can get them to sit in it, because it should never be the same solution you have, or you are trying to control someone as well. So it's understanding, no different than when I'm in my chair and I have people coming in, and unless they're ready to hear it because they want to, is when stuff will come through around their energies of who they are, what I see fully going on in their present time. And the biggest things I'll ask a person is, because most people don't realize they have lived in lack for so long, they've been so used to being belittled and bullied that it is normal to them. It doesn't feel good, it's comfortable. And so when you can get them to look from another aspect, which is the true aspect of what love is, and ask them, for instance, I've asked a client recently, when is the last time, or have you ever had the love of your life supposedly support you, back you up, encourage you? And this person's response was, it's never been. And then it gets the wheels turning for them to realize, that because many of us will tell ourselves the lie, using those excuses so we don't have to do anything to change it. And in the meantime, what's happening? We're allowing it to play out. So how do you help support them? You support them only if you're seeing it happening to them from someone, by saying, I feel they are disrespecting you. Do you see the disrespect coming through here? Or why are you allowing them to control your life? Who are you? Why aren't you allowed to be who you are? Ask them questions, because then they have to sit in it. It's easy to just make things go away, hide it under the rug, or put it in the closet. But when you actually ask them a question that's very genuine, then it gets the conversation going. The greatest thing that you can do yourself before supporting anyone else is asking yourself, am I trying to control the situation? Am I supporting them, or am I belittling them, or am I manipulating them myself for my own needs? And so we always have that inside, outside first. And some of us know there's not one thing you can say to someone, because they are going to stay in deaf ears, because their idea of family is everything, instead of their idea of love. And it's always hard, like many of you, when you start realizing it's happening on many people in your family, that once you start creating a brand new idea of how you roll, you bet people are going to be infected and affected by it, because they aren't getting their way of what they were used to. I have a great girlfriend, and she has been so insecure her whole life, and she is the most beautiful, loving being I've ever known. And her whole life was to be service of others. But it was only for validation and approval, which isn't true service to self, true service to others, because there's an expectation of being needed, of wanting to be needed, so that they felt somehow like they could have some kind of worth, instead of needing themselves and loving themselves and being there for themselves, therefore being able to want to spread the love to everyone else. And only when you realize and you start setting those boundaries, and then you feel like, her whole family turned against her, many friends, and she realized they weren't really friends. They were just used to getting what they needed from her because it had been an on again repetitive cycle. And so it's always going to be uncomfortable at first when you're creating a brand new idea of who you are and what you will accept and not accept. And so it's understanding or understanding that in the place of love, that you give them the space to become the new relationship. And if they cannot, then absolutely distance is from the place of love is the only way that you won't stay in that place of harboring and not forgiving. So being able to first forgive them for everything they were and everything they were not to you is a great place to sit in, knowing that every interaction, every relationship, and every moment we are here will decide the next expansion of where that is. If you believe that you have said something to harm another, absolutely, I would suggest you sit in it and apologize to them for your part in it. But it will be the same with every interaction you have. When it comes to children as well, if they are your children, then that is what you have every right to do to keep healthy boundaries of only loving people in your life because they are listening and they are sponges and they will take it all up. But to assume that absolutely everybody has been a narcissist to everyone is not for you to decide. It's just for you to decide what you are willing from your level of love to accept and give. Do we have more questions within this for Lucille, Dream or Divine?
Nope, that was all the questions that she sent in.
And what would you like to add to this storyline with around all the situation, Dream or Divine?
I just like to say that don't forget your worth 100% in every situation that this comes to is just you are in control of knowing your worth and knowing what you are going to allow in your life and what you're not going to allow in your life. And sometimes, like Tracy said, it's definitely not easy because you are possibly deciding to have people no longer in your life that you've had in there for a very long time. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean that it's right. It just is how you are deciding what your worth is and what you are willing to put up with and what you are setting the bar of what you deserve for respect. And so that's a big, huge part of it is you can have people in your life, you can keep them at a distance, you can still have them in your life, but set the boundaries. It's all up to you to decide what you're willing to deal with or what you're willing to go through and where your boundaries sit and the respect for yourself and your self-worth 100%.
Thank you so much, Dreamer Divine. Thank you so much, Lucille. It was a pretty loaded set of questions. I hope step by step you take what you need, leave the rest behind. For all of you out there listening, some of you are not willing to leave relationships because it'll be too hard. And all I'm going to say to you is as long as you are allowing the poison and then you go searching for the antidote and then you take it again and again and again, are you getting anywhere? Do you have a level of worth? And are you allowing and enabling someone to stay a victim, a manipulator, a controller, and a tyrant? Leaders of love are the true 5D earth plane. Love, acceptance, allowance, devotion, respect, being responsible, being accountable, being the action of being is love. Anything that is lack Anything that is distorted light is distorted on purpose and does not have a place to sit in your heart of hearts. So as long as you're allowing it, then you're continuing to lie to yourself, and you will never have full, whole joy in your life. You will be doing it for somebody else. You'll be doing it for an idea. I would love for any of you that feel guided to sit in any of these words that resonated with you today. If you are needing support, reach out to support@livingwholeonpurpose.com, like some of you have been. You haven't really had a question you wanted on the episodes, but you've asked for support from other episodes. I'm absolutely here to answer and help you sit a little deeper in your specifics. If you want to have more one-on-one sessions live or through Zoom or Messenger, absolutely. Get a hold of us off openingdoorsproductions.com. But if you really are enjoying these, I would love all your feedback to see how you are feeling. Some of you are going to be triggered very much. Some people are going to feel very uncomfortable. And some of you, I hope, are feeling that comfort that you needed to feel that you're not alone. Because you're not alone. You have a team of beautiful angels, guides, guardians, oh my gosh, realms that are there for you, that have always been there for you. Go inside and talk and listen through your heart, and you'll have so many great guidance answers that are specifically for you. So I love you all. I thank you so much for being a part of this beautiful podcast. Sit in it. And I hope that you have the most amazing, spectacular experiences showing up as love.